Hey, welcome to the Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan.
And my name's Drew.
We're no experts, but we are
the Sports Reverends.
Hey, we are back for the Sports Reverends podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We are joined with the coach. How you doing, coach?
Coach is great. Summertime, baby.
How about yourself, Drew?
Doing good. I'm about ready for this heat wave to be over, and got pretty burnt yesterday by the pool. But yeah, I'm not going to complain because in a few months it's going to be too cold again.
Totally.
What about you? How are you?
Thanks for asking. I'm doing well, and I'm enjoying this heat wave, and I don't ever want it to go away. Let's get into some of our quick hitter news from around the sports world. Major League Baseball opening night is on July 23rd. The Yankees and Nationals go head-to-head, and the Giants and the Dodgers.
Bradley Beal, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Taurean Prince have all opted out of the NBA restart in Orlando.
The legend himself, Joey Chestnut, crushed 75 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes to set a new men's world record. He is a 13-time champion. In the women's side, Miko Sudo destroyed 48 and a half to set a new women's world record.
Scary Terry himself, Terry Rozier, didn't know that MJ won 3 championships in a row. He must have been living under a rock.
David Njoku has asked for the Cleveland Browns to trade him before camp starts.
And Mike Trout might sit out the MLB season as he expects his first child. Now let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Have you ever thought about how well your investments are performing? Have you wanted to understand how the stock market works and how you can look after your financial future, but have been unsure of where or even how to get started? Train to Invest is North America's leading investment education and training corporation with the sole purpose of providing a new way of thinking about wealth management. Through teaching, training, and coaching individuals in both the art and science of self-directed investing, Train to Invest offers a complete education and training experience to empower families to begin their journey of planning for future generations through investment education. To find out more, look at www.traintoinvest.com and download our free ebook. Again, www.train2invest.com to find more information about our program and download our free ebook.
All right, if you haven't been tuned in, we are doing a contest called Mumble Fumble. If we mumble up a word or mispronounce a word, that is considered a mumble fumble. If we fumble up a fact that isn't 100% correct, we all lose points, okay? And I guess gain points because we don't want to gain the most points. And basically what's on the line right now is the loser has to do a full TikTok dance routine. And none of us like to dance, and this is going to be a punishment, so we're all trying not to lose. So right now, in the standings, there's been a good update. In the lead, so who's not losing right now, is Sports Reverend Drew. He's sitting at only 2 mumble fumbles. Way to go. Way to go. Tied for first, the coach, dancing guy himself, and myself, Dan, are tied at 3.
What happens if we have a tie?
We all have to do it.
Alphabetical order.
I get to pick videos for 2 of you to do together?
That would be legendary. So, yes.
I like the alphabetical order way better.
We'll go from oldest to youngest. Okay, well, let's get into it. You guys can help us keep track if we mumble fumble, and we probably do it more than we count, so that's just how it goes. But there is huge news. If you guys haven't heard this yet, Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million man, has signed a 10-year, contract extension. I'm going to throw it to Drew right away because he's got something to say.
Well, here's the hottest take that you'll hear today, I think. I was thinking about this over the past 10 years or so, and I think we haven't seen a team that signs a quarterback to market setting value win a Super Bowl in recent history.
Yeah.
And so my prediction is that the Kansas City Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes as quarterback, making this much money, will not win another Super Bowl.
This is the hottest take. The hottest take. And I absolutely love it that it's coming from you, Drew. Patrick Mahomes, arguably the greatest talent we've ever seen at quarterback, maybe already.
Statistically speaking.
Before we rebuttal anything, let's just talk about how good Patrick Mahomes is. Like,
He's so good.
So good. Like, definitely deserving of this money, like, from a personal standpoint. Coach, what do you think of Patrick Mahomes?
I think for a guy who didn't play most of his first year, this is incredible. Alex Smith was the quarterback for the longest time. And literally, like, I mean, I don't think anybody foresaw this. You know, none of the draft experts were like, oh, Patrick Mahomes was the next best thing. Like, he has really changed that entire division, changed the entire perception of what a young quarterback can do. And it'll be interesting to see with Drew's take about if the Chiefs can move forward and not only be a contender, but win multiple chips. Because that's the whole point, right? You got to win multiple chips to get this kind of money. But in a salary cap era, not sure what's going to happen. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, it's just like when I think of Patrick Mahomes, I think of what can't he do? The game that I saw him the most, where I was most surprised, was the Super Bowl. That might have been his worst performance as an NFL quarterback. He's overthrowing, and he threw a couple picks, and that's wild. That's wild. And that was a Super Bowl performance, and he still was good, right? Led the team back. Amazing.
What's scary is that was his first Super Bowl, right? And now the butterflies are gone. He's been there. He's done that. Next time he gets there, if he does, he'll be just, ready to go, drop of the hat, which is terrifying for other teams.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And to clarify on my point, I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes isn't good or deserving of the contract that he got. I'm saying what happens is these teams pay their way into a corner. We've seen it with the Russell Wilson contract as well. They can't really get anyone to surround these guys. Aaron Rodgers, even in Green Bay, they haven't really been able to pay guys or keep guys that he wants around to help him out. They haven't been able to pay big name defensive guys. Also, people don't want to go to Green Bay, but for Kansas City, they just won't have the resources to pay all these guys they need to pay down the road. And that's why I don't want to pick on Dallas too much, but I think Dallas has missed their window. Teams have a window when you've got a great quarterback on a rookie contract.
Yeah.
That's your window to win. That's your window to pay other positions that you don't have. The Rams were in this position a couple years ago before they signed Goff. But
now look at them.
But that's teams' windows, right?
Absolutely.
Even the Eagles, like, they won in that window. Not that Wentz was playing, but they won in that window of having a young, good quarterback on a rookie contract. Seahawks did it with Russell Wilson as well.
So I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think you have valid points, and history has shown us that you're right. What I do say to this is that, Patrick Mahomes is on a different level than any of those quarterbacks mentioned. He's one of those generational talents, and I
just mentioned Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers.
I know. And I'm saying Patrick Mahomes is above them, in my opinion. Okay? And so what I was saying is that The difference is that so it's actually a 10-year extension, as we said. So he's signed for 12 more years, and realistically, he's actually going to be undervalued at this contract. Okay, he has 2 more years this year and next year on his original deal. Then he has 2 years, pretty much at the max, where he is resetting the market completely for current quarterbacks. And but then after 4 years, the new TV deal for the NFL is happening, and that means the cap is going to grow for each team, and it's going to give more quarterbacks, upcoming ones, like a Deshaun Watson and potentially Dak Prescott. I don't know if I really want him signed that high, but to reset the market again per year at the very minimum. So this is what I'm saying. Patrick Mahomes has those 2 years where he is maxing out the contracts or the cap, and he's resetting the market. He's actually only at 16% of the team's salary cap. That's only 1% more than when they signed, I don't know, like Andrew Luck. I think Russell Wilson is at 14% of the team's salary cap. So he's not majorly above those other guys. I think he's deservingly so above them. But the 2 years of his rookie deal gives them a chance to retool a bit. Then they're going to have a tight 2 years. But then after that, they have an opportunity to retool again. And that's what I think the difference is.
I think the big assumption is we're all assuming that the NFL TV deal is going to be huge. Right? There's projections that all of a sudden the cap is going to jump from $200 to $300 million. And right now we have no idea. Right? Just because, like, look, no one knew COVID was going to happen. Right? Revenues across all sports are down. Revenues and money is all down all across the world. We have no idea how long it's going to take for A to find a cure. If something else is going to happen, that's going to be something that's going to be market moving like this. So just to assume that because the cap is going to explode, teams are going to be okay, I think we have to dial that tone back a bit. What if the cap only goes up 25 million?
Do you think
right?
that?
I don't know. If you had asked me last summer, I just would assume, NBA TV deal is going to be huge. NFL TV deal is going to be huge. Now I'm more skeptical about it. Now, I do agree with your assessment that within the next 2 years, because of the way his deal is structured, that next 2 years, I think they are primed. They're absolutely primed to go on a tear. And I could see them going back to back for sure.
Maybe, that's your pick too, right? That is your pick.
I picked them in the beginning of the year. Maybe even winning 3 in a row.
Wow.
But that's a maybe. But they are primed. The Chiefs are primed and in a good spot. They got talent all across the board. The biggest thing, as with any NFL player, is injuries. Mahomes has shown that he's durable, and he's got a decent offensive line. But, one wrong tackle, he's blowing out his knee. Look at RG3. Right? I think he was one of those dynamic quarterbacks, got put onto a team which had a terrible O-line, took too many shots, and now his career's done.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what we're seeing with Kyler Murray too.
Yeah. And so while it's all good and dandy to think about, hey, this is going to be great, cap's going to go up, they're going to be able to sign things, when you have a guy who's still going to command, let's just say he keeps it at 16% of the cap, it's still going to make it tight to sign other guys because not all those salaries are still going to increase. Wide receiver salaries are going to go up. Offensive linemen are going to go up. All of them are going to go up in accordance with how the cap goes up, right? They're not just going to make, they're not just going to say, as an O lineman, you're only going to make $8 million, that's it. You may go from 8 to 12, right?
Yeah,
so everything else is going to go up and be relatively more expensive.
I think that's the idea, is to give some of those other positions a chance to make some bigger bucks, right?
Right. No, but then as a percentage of the cap, it's still all going to be like your 16% is going to be 16% regardless. You know what I mean?
Maybe, right? Maybe. We don't know that. Like,
Well, and the guys you mentioned that he's around percentage wise, like Wilson and Luck, those are two of the examples that I can use of teams that signed their quarterbacks to big contracts and didn't win.
Jared Goff is 14.3% of the cap. Carson Wentz is 13.7. Luck was 14.9. Cam Newton in 2015 was almost 14%. Right, so that's still a big chunk of the cap.
Yeah, for sure.
Right,
And you're dealing with 52 man rosters, right?
And these rosters could expand as well. If you're thinking about cutting out preseason games, the NFLPA is probably going to try and push for an expanded roster as well to get more players under there as well. So,
but if you're a GM and like you're negotiating with a quarterback, you know, and let's just say it's past that new TV deal, I think it's easier to sell $500 million for 10 to 12 years comparatively to saying, I'm not going to give you even more of the percentage of this cap so we can actually sign other people, right? If you're the franchise guy, because other positions, they only last how many years per, like how many an average life of a football guy is not long.
50 years, yeah, it's tough, right? Because I think I was listening to the show that Shannon Sharp and that other guy does, First Take, I think it's called.
Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
Oof.
And
that's not First Take.
I'm not sure what it's called. I was just flipping through Instagram, and Shannon was making a great point because you can't give a 10-year deal to every single quarterback out there, right? It depends on the type of quarterback, regard A is age, but B personality too. Some guys may not be comfortable taking a 10-year deal because they want to make the max amount of money possible during their earnings period. Some guys may like to say, okay, I'm making $400 million. That's going to be life-changing, which is totally true. And I'll take the long-term security of having things guaranteed, right?
So why don't you say the thing about Dak Prescott and then throw it to Drew?
Oh, okay, yeah. Like for example, like Dak I think is looking to maximize his money, which is his right. And that's why he really wants to get a deal that's 4 years. So so it ends when the TV contract ends. And he's going to try and sign a 4-year deal, and then re-up and sign another 4-year deal, and then sign another 4-year deal, so that in his 12 years, he's going to make more money than Mahomes might, right? Just based on the math. The difference is Mahomes is signing it with 2 years left in his contract. He has way more leverage than Dak does in terms of signing and trying to get what he wants, because there's more give and take. What do you think, Drew?
Or should I ask you this question, Drew? So,
Sure.
So does this signing of Patrick Mahomes affect Dak Prescott and the Cowboys?
Yeah, well, I think so. Go ahead, Drew. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, like the problem is that every time a new contract is up for negotiation, every quarterback wants the ceiling, right? Yeah. And I think every quarterback cheers for the other quarterback to get more money, because that means when they're up next, they get the more money. But my problem with Dak negotiating is that I just don't see him at that level of deserving that kind of money. And I think there should be different classes of quarterbacks negotiation. Like if you're like, sure, like maybe he's a B plus quarterback. Yeah. Like, so this would put you at this level. So you can ask for 75% of what the top quarterback is getting or whatever. Like, I know that that'll never happen, but
it should, right?
It should. Like, that's the way it should be.
There's lots of names that you can throw in there, right?
Right. Yeah. B plus quarterback. You can win, like Nick Foles. Like
100%.
He might even be B minus C plus. Like, and you can win a championship with those kind of quarterbacks. But I think pay wise, like these teams shouldn't feel pressure to give money to quarterbacks that aren't deserving of being top paid quarterbacks. But unfortunately, they will be.
Running back.
Yeah, it's what's happening. And that's why I argued a couple podcasts ago that teams should stop paying their running backs. Like, let them play out their rookie deals and draft another one. There's always great running backs coming in second, third, fourth rounds that break out and are better than the guys that go top five. Like in what was it the year Zeke came into the year and Jordan
Yeah.
Howard got just as many yards rushing? I'm pretty sure.
No,
That
Zeke
could
won.
be
Zeke won his first year. It might have been the second year where Zeke didn't win the rushing title. I can't remember.
Well, I'm not saying but Jordan Howard was up there. I think Jordan Howard and Zeke came in together. This might be a fumbled stat. You can look it up later. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking that there was a running back that came in at the same time as Zeke, who was a first round high pick, and a team picks a guy in the second round or whatever, and he does just as well. Like that happens every year.
Absolutely.
And I know quarterbacks are more valuable, but I still think there should be a class system there to say teams can say, hey, you're performing like a B plus quarterback. We're going to pay you B plus money compared to, I think Mahomes can be the measuring stick of what an A plus looks like.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
that's my take on it.
Dan, who do you think would fit into this top tier of quarterbacks?
Just one, Patrick Mahomes. Then there's
Okay.
so he's A plus, and
I
then
think Russell Wilson's in the A plus category too.
I could be convinced about Russell Wilson, but I'm not gonna put him there. I'm gonna put him as an A.
Russell Wilson over his past 3 seasons has been
Yeah,
on one of the best runs ever.
absolutely. And
Like this next year, he's going to pass Aaron Rodgers for best QBR for career.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And if you put Russell Wilson in Patrick Mahomes' position, they still win the championship, Super Bowl.
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
So I can be convinced about Russell Wilson, but the other ones, like
I think we got an A plus. Like we got those two in A plus. I think we got another one at A. And then
exactly.
I put Dak in the B plus, like even under.
He's
like
got to perform it. Yeah, he hasn't hit that A level yet.
Yeah.
But I guess the idea is that he's on projection to hit it, right? But obviously, like Aaron Rodgers, when he started his career, I would have given him A plus too. But now I think he's kind of. I'd put Aaron Rodgers in an A section. Although if you gave him weapons like Patrick Mahomes, we could be talking differently, right?
I put Deshaun Watson in the A category as well.
Yeah, same with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's tough because there's tons of good quarterbacks, but who's been Super Bowl MVP? Who has been MVP of the league? Like, there's not many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like
his interception to touchdown ratio is ridiculous.
It's like almost 4-1.
Yeah, that's like crazy.
Mind-boggling for a guy who is so young. Like for example, like Peyton Manning putting up that stat, sure, makes sense, right?
Not in his rookie year.
No, not his. But I'm saying if when you hear Peyton Manning, you put 4-1, it makes sense because he's got experience, blah 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 blah. Yeah. But this guy is he's a kid.
Like this was his second year starting.
Yeah,
right?
Crazy.
It's amazing.
In his first 2 years starting, like he obviously sat most of the first season. Yeah. He wins MVP of the league and wins the Super Bowl in his second season. Like, what else does he have to do?
Yeah.
He broke the Madden curse again, so he's unstoppable.
That's true. I mean,
hey, Peyton Hillis could come back.
I think coming back to the whole Dak and Deshaun Watson thing, I think the whole tier system is just a realization about from GMs and those kind of points. It's like, okay, I have a generational talent here in Mahomes, but if I'm drafting in the middle of the first round, do I necessarily going to get a generational talent? Like none of these guys are locks to begin with.
Yeah.
See, when you're going to the contract negotiations, like for Dak, he's played hardball. He signed the contract tender. I think Dan and I were talking a couple of days ago. He's got a week, 8 days left, July 15th, to get to a long-term agreement.
Yeah.
Dan's on the impression that they will. I'm not so sure because if that 1 year is a big sticking point, Dak may just play it out.
I'm also saying we have to also there's a relationship side to things too, right? I know it's business first, but you have to also know like you have to treat your guys right. He's your quarterback, Like you're gonna franchise tag your guy. Like that's, to me, it just seems unlikely the Cowboys will do that.
Well, the Cowboys are dysfunctional though.
Hey,
See, I have a different take on the franchise tag. Like, if a quarterback's willing to bet on himself, I wouldn't mind playing under a franchise tag either. Like, he's playing in front of one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he's been durable. I think you can make more money. Like, look at Kirk Cousins, like how much money he made in those when he kept redoing the franchise tag. Like, he made so much more money than any other quarterback in that time.
but it's football, man.
Period.
Like
I understand that. Like, I know in baseball, Trevor Bauer, he pitches for the Cincinnati Reds. He says he'll never sign more than a 1-year contract because he wants to bet on himself every year, and he wants to earn what he earns each year.
And that helps drive him too, right? I mean,
so we talk about guys playing well in their contract seasons. Like, every year he's going to be right. So it's good for the team and good for the player.
Is it commendable or is it, silly? You can work that stuff into your.
I think it's a win-win on either side.
But you can work because if he gets hurt, then what? Right? If he has that long-term deal, there's comfortable. He can be comfortable, and then you can work those things into incentives. If you have to get something like that to motivate you, like, come on.
Trevor Bauer has probably made more money doing this 1-year deal than he would have signing a long-term contract.
Yeah.
I think with the Dak thing, he's making what, 30, let's just round up and say 32 million with the franchise tag.
Yeah.
Right. So he gets franchised this year. They can't come to a deal. Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
And he gets franchised again.
Yeah.
Consecutive years. Let's just say it goes up to 38 because it's an average of all the contracts, right? So he's going to make 65, 70 million in those 2 years. And then he's on the open market. Or he's going to get paid big money.
So that's the risk, right? This is the risk.
Right? It's
you
just
get your even though Patrick Mahomes has got his $500 million deal, he's only guaranteed just over 140 million, right? This is the risk. Would you take your 30 million each year, or do you get your 100 million plus guaranteed right away, right? And with maybe it's easier with baseball, but football to me is just like, man, injuries are like so much a part of the game. So
but also it depends too, right? Because if you're a good quarterback and you get injured 1 year, they're not going to write you off.
Really,
yeah, well,
could have like a big injury that like hurts you big time, right?
Yeah, I mean, like,
so much risk.
Like, there is still risk for sure, but like if you break your wrist,
We're gonna say, Drew?
I think the risk in baseball, as a picture at least, like, there's so many Tommy John surgeries, and that's a full year if you recover well. So you think about Trevor Bauer, teams will just not touch him for a year, right? If he's only signed 1-year contracts.
True.
So there is risk there, but I understand your point of there is higher risk in football. That's why the career length is average of 3 years overall for football. Like,
true.
It's crazy.
All I know is that I think you've convinced me to put Russell Wilson up in the A+ category, and I'm okay with that now. And I think it's time that we head to commercial and hear a word from our sponsors. With no sports to watch on TV, esports have been shooting off the charts. What are esports, you may ask? Well, basically, it's competitive video gaming. Esports are fun to watch, and my favorite gamer to watch is a guy named Vandalize. Vandalize plays a variety of consoles and games, including the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. What makes him so unique is that he plays these games with the controller upside down. It is a talent unlike any other. You can check his Twitch stream out, and you can find the link in the Sports Reverends Instagram bio. Or you can search him up on Twitch, Vandalized, with 2 Z's or Z's. His control will be upside down.
Welcome back to the Sports Reverends podcast. We're going to talk a little NHL draft. Pretty crazy. We had the draft lottery a few weeks ago, and what happened was, as a team, will be the team to pick first overall will be one of the 8 that are eliminated from the Stanley Cup qualifiers, and will be determined by a second draft lottery drawing to be held before the start of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Each of the eliminated teams will have a 12.5% chance of winning the number 1 overall pick. So basically what we're going to have is a team that basically made the playoffs get the number 1 overall pick, which is crazy.
This is
Bananas.
This is wild. This is so wild to me. Like,
Yeah.
It blows my mind how this is even a possibility.
I
Because
think it's saltiness from his Detroit Red Wings fan.
yeah, absolutely. I should have got number 1 this year. I should have got number 1. And then
And you dropped all the way to 4.
Fourth. Like, this is this is just, it blows my mind. It just blows my mind. It's like when the Durant Odin draft and Boston was going to get number 1 and they dropped all the way down. Like,
Yeah.
it's just shocking, especially in a year where COVID has really messed everything up.
Yeah, it's like, what else?
Yeah, like-
What's next?
Like,
Well-
I don't know.
For some teams, they're thanking this situation,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because they have a chance to get that number 1 pick. So this brings in the question: as a play-in team, would you rather have a number 1 pick or reach the Stanley Cup Finals?
See, I'll take this first, because I think it really depends on the makeup of your team.
Yeah.
If you have a team that is starving for a star, I think they would rather have the number 1 overall pick, because this Alex Lafreniere that's coming up is supposed to be in the class of Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews.
Said the kid.
Said the kid. Yeah, like, this is supposed to be a franchise-changing player, and there's not one on every team in the NHL. You can have a good team in the NHL by playing a good defensive game. Like, I think a team like Montreal, who has solid defense, great goalie, they're looking for that star. And since it's not likely that they would make a run deep, I wouldn't want to fluke it and win the first round and take my chances from 12.5% down to 0 of getting the number 1 overall pick just to have a few more days in the bubble. Like, that's not my idea of a good time. But a team like, let's say, the Leafs,
Yeah, here we go.
who
This would be good.
have depth down the middle, like Matthews, Tavares, and
They're stacked.
they're stacked down the middle. And I don't think they would. I don't even know if they would know what to do if they got another center. They would have to, like I said before, they'd have to trade Tavares to get rid of that contract, because it would just be
Insane.
it would be insane.
Whoa. Can you say then, as a Leafs fan, that you're going to get out of the first round then?
Oh, I think we're getting by Columbus.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
There we go.
He picked Toronto.
I picked Toronto.
He was
I
he
did
was
say at
flirting
one
with
point.
it yesterday. Or
I
last
did
month.
say I did say at one point I'd rather lose to Columbus than Boston. So if we're just going to end up losing to Boston, I'd rather just lose in the first round.
Get that number
Yeah.
one. Get that number one.
A team like Winnipeg, that's a hard one. I hear a lot of Winnipeg fans cheering that they have a chance to get the number 1 overall pick, but I think they have such a good chance to make a deep run
Mhm.
that I wouldn't want to trade that.
No.
They've got a team other than their defense, but I think their defense will get there. Like, they've got the pieces. They've had a lot of injury trouble this year, but I think guys like Josh Morrissey is a good defenseman, getting better. The loss of Bufflin, really, you see it almost every game you watch the Jets. But Hellebuck has been playing outside his mind, and we talked about it a couple pods ago. Like, all you need is a hot goalie
Absolutely.
to make a run. But I think the teams without the face of the franchise guys, like I'm thinking Montreal, I'm thinking Arizona, even a Columbus, Nashville,
Yeah.
Those are teams that would probably trade a deep playoff run. We're saying reach the finals. Like that's a tall task for these teams.
Yeah.
But I think they would trade that for a 12.5% chance. Like that's a pretty good percent chance of getting the number one overall pick when you know that it's a generational talent, must draft player.
I totally agree with you, Drew. Like a team like the Leafs, if the fan base wasn't as crazy as they are, they'd be okay with a first round loss, getting this guy. But a deep playoff run would light that city on fire.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Rangers, a deep playoff run would be big for them. The Jets, I 100% agree with you on that. That as much as I'd like to get more capital and stack the team, a deep playoff run and putting those pieces together would be something that would really benefit the city.
Yeah.
And just the fan base itself, because, I mean, I'm not a huge hockey follower, but I pay attention to the Jets, and I kind of think we're at the point as a fan base of like potential. Now it's time to see some return on that potential.
Right.
And you're right. The defense has been the weakest spot, and kind of having the whole Bufflin situation resolved, getting a forward in the top end of the draft is nice, but it doesn't fit a need.
Right. It's
right?
the same thing with the Leafs too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It doesn't fit a need that we need.
But I think if the Leafs got the number one pick, everyone would say it's rigged. If the Penguins got it, everyone would say it's rigged. There's a few teams where people wouldn't be happy about this whole draft lottery situation.
Yeah.
And it's understandable. I mean, the rich, the whole point of the draft lottery is that the rich don't get richer.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And this is going to feed into that if teams like Toronto and the Penguins do that. But a team like Arizona, I think, would be a perfect example of a team that would rather have, 7 to 8 years of playoff hockey instead of 1 year of a deep run.
Right?
Because that team is trouble enough getting people to fill the stands. The Panthers, same kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see. It's a nice twist to have to this whole playoff run. I'm of course going to be salty as a Red Wings fan that I got fourth. But
you might be salty as a Red Wings fan, but I think the saltiest fans will be the Ottawa Senators fans, especially if we see the Islanders get the number one overall pick, because this might be one of the smartest trades by Lou Lamoriello, the GM over on the Islanders, trading for JG Pajot and adding in the stipulation that if they drop into a lottery pick, which wasn't likely because they were in a playoff spot, so why even put it in, right? That if they drop into a draft lottery, that they keep this year's. So what would have happened if they didn't do that is that the Senators would have got number 1, number 3, and number 5.
That would have been insane.
That's remaking your whole team. Like basically, you could draft a whole line. But yeah, it's unlikely that the Islanders lose the first round matchup, but it can happen.
Stranger things.
And so basically they would have traded, got Pajot for nothing this year.
Yeah.
One thing you guys didn't mention, I'll say this and I'll let you guys respond. I think we're undervaluing the importance of winning playoff series and winning games and a winning culture, right? How good would it be for the Leafs to go with the roster they have to go on a deep playoff run? Like how meaningful going forward?
I think Joel touched on it too with Arizona. Like, would you trade a year of making a run for 8 years of making the playoffs? Like I used the Blue Jays example, and maybe it's a bad example for this, but they traded away basically their whole farm system to bank on 1 year with David Price and Troy Tulowitzki and all those guys. Like and they made a deep run 2 years, but now we've been rebuilding for 4 or 5 years, and we're still 3 years away. So I think they would have been better off keeping Noah Syndergaard and Travis Darno. And I think right now we'd be seeing a franchise that's built to make the playoffs 4, 5, 6 years in a row. And I think that's what we're talking about. Like, you give up a playoff run this year to get a generational talent that'll make sure that you make the playoffs year after year after year. Like, if you have a superstar in the NHL, your team, it's not as big as having a star in the NBA. Like, I think one star makes a bigger difference in the NBA, but it's up there. Having a star like Connor McDavid, like.
But how many times does that Connor McDavid come around, right?
Right, and that's what we're saying, and this is what this guy is touted as. So if there is 1 year to trade it for a number one overall pick, this is the year. It's not like going after Anthony Bennett.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just saying, let's say they don't get the success and they don't win the draft.
Right.
Then it's just a lose-lose.
Yeah, I'm not saying throw it. Right?
That wasn't the question if we're intentionally going to lose or not. I think
rather?
It comes down to like a team like Pittsburgh. They're an older team, right? Yeah. So there's pros and cons to getting a young generational talent to fill that gap.
Yeah.
Right? That would extend.
Can you imagine the passing of the torch when Mario to Sidney?
Yeah.
To Lafreniere, like.
It's not about just say the future.
It's not about. I don't think. I think if the idea was to tank for this kid, then that's a bad culture aspect. But I think if you look at it in a long-term view, and to build that culture, then yeah. I wouldn't, as I say, as a Jets fan, if they lost out in the first round and then got the number one pick, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, but when you hear Drew say that he hears Jets fans cheering that they have a chance at the number one pick at 12.5, doesn't that kind of share the culture of like, I don't really care if I win or not?
No,
right?
Because
especially I think like we all think the Jets can make a pretty deep playoff run.
I think
our team's pretty young.
To rebuttal that, look at, I mean, you haven't seen it, obviously, in being in Toronto, but the whiteout parties that happen when there's home games, that whole downtown is packed. And I mentioned before, I think as a fan base overall, we're tired of potential. You want to see some results. Like, yeah, I'd be okay with us getting the number one pick, sure, but personally, I'd rather see them make a deep run. Yeah. I think that would be beneficial for the team and for the city.
Well, and that's what Edmonton's dealing with. Like, they're
perfect.
Since Taylor Hall was drafted, they've been talking about, like, they had 3 or 4 first overall picks there.
Yeah,
they've been talking potential, and now they're ready to win. I don't think they would trade. A playoff run in Edmonton would be huge.
Especially as the hub city.
Yeah, especially as the hub city. And Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, like 2 of the best players in the league. Yeah, they don't need another piece. They need to win.
Experience, right?
They need to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a process, right? And so I guess we're on the same page. Some teams that probably don't have a chance, probably like Montreal, would benefit better from getting an opportunity at the number one pick.
Yeah.
But some teams like Edmonton, Winnipeg, I think the Leafs would benefit from making a deep playoff run, regardless if they win or not.
It's not like if to take a basketball example, it's like the 76ers, where for like 3 or 4 years they absolutely sucked. And they sucked on purpose. Yeah. Right? Because that was literally them just tanking, trying to get number one picks.
And Michael Carter-Williams years.
Yeah. And like, as a fan base, that would be it's tough. Like, great, they're winning now, but those couple of years was horrendous.
And it's arguable that you could say that they would have a earlier success with the Simmons and Embiid combo if they didn't have such a culture of losing prior to that, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It took them
think-
forever to get out of that.
Yeah. Like, for me, I understand there's like a salary cap, there's business, all that kind of stuff. But if you're running a team, that should be secondary, right? Because the whole idea is to win. Now, your chances of winning,
Sustained winning.
yeah, your chances of winning every year could fluctuate. But like Toronto took a gamble. They knew Kawhi may not stay, right? Especially because he had no ties to Toronto. But they took a gamble. They traded away an icon, and it worked out for them, right? So there's times where you have to like just say, this is my core group of players. This is where they're at. We have to go for the chip now. We have to do this. This is all our time to put all our chips on the table and go for it. Whereas other times you're like, okay, we got a bit of a younger core. I think it was when did the Heat win their first championship? 2006?
6 with Wade?
Yeah. No, with LeBron and Wade and Bosh.
No, that's 20 like
11.
Yeah.
Something like that. When they played that young OKC team, right? If that franchise had decided to push all their chips in at once at that point in time, that wouldn't have been prudent because they still had time with that young core for sustained winning.
Did they?
Yeah.
If they
Well,
kept it all
absolutely.
together,
What happened? Yeah, if they kept it all together, what happened?
they
Well,
got rid of
Westbrook
James
got
Harden.
hurt one year,
Yeah.
and then they
Got rid of Harden.
Yeah, but that was because they put business before team. If they kept them all together, they would have won one for sure. Guaranteed. But that's
If that four was still together, they'd have a couple championships.
oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I don't know how this turned into basketball.
No, but my point is you have to look at your team and look at say, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. I either go all in and make a push, or I stay where I'm at and let them grow. And
But
so
this is different. This is different in the NHL. This is you're
No,
in the
it's not.
playoffs. You're
No,
in
but-
the playoffs. You're
No,
not
but
making you're not making a jump. You're not making a
But you're not really in the playoffs, though.
but it's gonna
This is
be
a play-in.
but it's gonna be like playoff experience.
No, what I'm
regardless.
saying is, so you're missing my point. My point is, like a team like the Winnipeg Jets, they've had this young core together, and like it's time to get some payout. It's time to get some reward from it. It's time to do something to push for a championship instead of pushing for long-term success.
So what would
They
that
have-
be?
Huh?
So what are you saying? What would that be?
I'm saying, as a Jets fan, I want them to make a deep push.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
I was just making a point.
Okay. Well, Drew, you have anything else to say about this?
No, I think we sort of are all agreeing. We're just sort of coming at it in different directions.
Yeah.
So it depends on your team structure. It depends whether, like a team like Montreal, they were a 500 hockey team this year. They weren't a playoff team.
Yeah.
They'd have a chance at this. This would be their slot if COVID didn't happen.
Yeah.
This slot that won would be, I think this would be the pick that they'd get
For a full year of season, yeah.
for a full year season. So I wouldn't mind seeing Montreal get it. I love having stars on the Canadian teams.
Plus he's French, right?
I don't care for Montreal that much, but
Do
he's probably a Canadiens fan, Lafreniere. So
this is where I think we differ though. Would you rather take the risk of going for that 12.5% chance of getting the number one pick, or is that more valuable than winning a playoff, like beating the Penguins in the play-in?
Yeah. I think so. For a team like Montreal, yeah, they would need that because that would give them a better chance of sustaining long-term success.
But there's no guarantee that you're even going to
No,
get
I know.
it.
But there's no,
That's what I'm
there's
saying.
no
So I'm
guarantee.
saying if you
There's
beat
no
the
guarantee
Penguins,
they're going to do any better
There's
the
no-
next year anyway.
if you beat the Penguins, it's just going to be like a huge boost to all those players that
It
Need to-
could be, but they could get smoked the next
there's no
round.
guarantees either way.
I just think I lean towards winning and a winning culture more than a chance at this one kid.
We're not saying throw the round though. We're not.
You're still going to compete.
You're gonna compare. Well, like kind
We're
of.
just saying, let's get to the end of the first round, and let's evaluate who is this good or bad for our team. Like it's already. Let's pretend it's already over that first round. Montreal's lost. Do they say, "Oh, that really sucks," or is it like,
No.
"Yeah, now we have like."
That's what we're talking about. We're not
Okay,
talking
but-
about culture.
Would you? Yeah, but would you take that chance at the 12.5% to get the number
can't
one?
Ask that. You can't ask that.
Why can't I just did?
Because then you're saying
Or
throw
win the
this
first
in.
round. Or win the first round.
We're not saying throw the first. Obviously,
just
they're going
saying-
to play to win the first round.
They're going to play their hardest regardless. Yes.
Yeah.
No one's throwing anything.
So
But would you
yeah.
take the option of winning the first round or having a chance at the first?
what happens after the first round? If you're going to
Nothing.
give me that
Don't-
hypothetical,
Doesn't
no. If
matter.
you're going to give me that
You-
hypothetical, I need to know the next round.
Okay, then they lose the second round.
Okay, then I'd take the chance at the first overall pick.
And I think I would differ with that.
Okay.
I think I just think the value of winning and
So that's where the Leafs were for my whole childhood.
Yeah.
We're
And
a
before.
team. We're a team that would get 8th place and get booted in the first or second round of the playoffs and never get a good draft pick because they were good enough to not be in the lottery, but bad enough, or they would get 10th or 11th place and just
They're
miss the
mid-
playoffs, and they'd get a 15th, 16th overall pick. I'd way rather them just, if you want to call it tanking, whatever. If you want to call it trading away older players with higher salaries, because that's what we had in the early 2000s, that's what I would have done.
yeah, I
You
think
don't
that
need-
would have been smart,
you don't need
right?
Doug Gilmour in 2003.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the difference, right? Like what you said, you trade away, you take the leap. You take the leap to go all in to make a playoff push that will actually give you a chance to win, which they never really had when they were even making the playoffs or just missing it, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But
So you do
what
agree
Coach
with
was
us.
saying. No, I still think that.
I think you just
value-
want to be different, but you do agree with us.
Look, I've grown up different my whole life. All right.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Now you live in the city where there's a lot of brown guys, so you're okay.
I love this. But let's hear another word from our sponsors.
Samara and Jane is an Australian-based accessories retailer with all of the latest fashion trends from around the world. Ladies, update your style game with gorgeous earrings, necklaces, and other jewelry for affordable prices. And guys, you can shop for that special lady in your life too. Use discount code SPORTSREV30 for 30% off your entire order. That's SPORTSREV30 for 30% off your entire order. Use discount code at checkout at samaraandjane.com.
All right, we are ending our Sports Reverends podcast show for the day. Why don't, Drew, you talk to us a little bit about our social media?
Yeah. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Am I supposed to talk about that? 1.97 thousand subscribers. We need 30 more people to subscribe. 29
Actually-
if you don't count me.
Yes,
But
dude.
I gotta subscribe to that channel. Maybe I need to make a YouTube channel or
The Mel's on
account
Instagram
first.
too.
But yeah, check us out, like us, follow us, whatever you do on those things, and get back to us, message us, and yeah, we'll see you out there.
Make sure you hit us up on our website as well. Lots of information. Raptor reports come out periodically on there as well. Lots of polls have been put up. It's a great way to interact with us as well as our social media.
To our fans, thank you so much for your support. We love you, and we will be back later this week. Peace out, world.
Peace.